And our moderator this afternoon for this conversation is going to be Dr. John Mulcahy, one of the most dynamic CTE leaders in the U.S. And I'll turn it over to John.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you all of us for joining us. I would like especially to express my appreciation to Bill for feeding all of you prior to this presentation. Yes, you know, as a moderator, you never want to stand between a group and their food. Even a lion tamer has a whip and a chair. All I have is a podium. So thank you again very much for being here. You're at the panel entitled Student Voices, How Multiple Pathways Can Transform Lives. If done right, this will truly be a panel where you will hear mostly student voices. Our purpose today as a panel is to demonstrate that there are multiple pathways to success, multiple pathways to economic independence. As Bill so often says in his speeches, there is more than one path to heaven. So each of our speakers today will be talking to you a little bit about the path that they took, the path that they chose on their road to success. Our first speaker today will be, as Bill indicated, Elizabeth Carnesi. She is the HOSA National President-elect, becoming president this summer. She is a graduate of Paradise Valley, one of the schools right here in the greater Phoenix metropolitan area. So with that, Elizabeth, I'm going to turn it over to you to share your story.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you to all of you guys for being here today and for having me as one of your speakers. CTE and my HOSA journey has been something that has definitely shaped who I am as a person. And I really kind of like to say that it started in middle school. And if any of you guys remember being in middle school and being 14, 15, you can, kind of remember how it's kind of a rough patch. But CTE and HOSA was kind of something that kind of showed me that I could do something inside of the health professions. And so when I was choosing where I wanted to go to high school, I was fortunate enough to figure out that my high school, Paradise Valley High School, had a very specific STEM and career and technical education program inside of it, otherwise known as the Center for Research in Engineering, Science, and Technology, CREST program. And inside of that program, I was a part of the biotechnology program. And so it was a 4-year program where we took classes specifically tailored to students who wanted to become professionals in health and in bioscience, veterinary sciences, anything like that. It was the basis for where we could learn technical lab skills like pipetting and a lot of really high-tech lab skills that are going to be the ways that, the future cures cancer, things like that. And it's a fantastic program that definitely opened doors to a lot of research opportunities as well as internship opportunities. Last year, I was fortunate enough to intern with the Phoenix Children's Hospital and the University of Arizona College of Medicine in one of their laboratories, which was a fantastic experience. I was researching pediatric leukemia and lymphoma and trying to find different ways to try and combat that, as that's a huge problem. But it wasn't until sophomore year that I was introduced to the Career and Technical Student Organization, HOSA Future Health Professionals. And I really just started off as a member where I kind of learned more about what HOSA was and why it was an important organization, and was definitely able to participate in community service and fundraising for our chapter that started off pretty small. That year, we sent a bunch of kids to the state competition, and actually our chapter took home second and third at the national level in biomedical laboratory science, which was really cool, starting off as such a small chapter. And then from there, we only ballooned in growth. My junior year in high school, I served as the community service chair for my HOSA chapter. And so that year, I started a partnership with a local elementary school where we went to their campus and we created curriculum based off of the state curriculum and taught students about physics and health and biology and a lot of really cool things, and it was all hands-on and through fun activities, and it's something that has actually continued on 3 years later. They just actually had the 5th and 6th graders from that school visit the high school, and the students that are still at PV, they taught them about biology and whatnot. As well as that year, we also did like a food and clothes drive that I put on and had our students go to in downtown Phoenix, where we fed and clothed the homeless population downtown right before it started getting cold. So it was a really interesting opportunity to kind of see how sometimes like donating to a food bank and like going out and volunteering is such a really important part of our community. My senior year, I served as the Arizona historian reporter for Arizona HOSA, and so that was my first time as a state officer, and it was a life-changing experience. I got to travel and meet hundreds of other students from all across the country who were just as passionate as I was about the health professions, and were just as excited about things that, you know, generally don't excite people, like DNA or pipetting. So exciting. And it was also an opportunity to expand upon professional development skills. So as a part of HOSA, you have the opportunity to network with professionals. And so I remember when I was a state officer, during our Washington Leadership Academy, I got to go and talk with my state representative about CTE funding and how it was so important to continue funding career and technical education, as well as career and technical student organizations. And it was an incredible opportunity. And then this past summer, after I was done with my term as historian reporter, I decided that I was going to run for national office. And with the help of Mrs. Shovlin and the rest of my state team, I was able to go through the process of filling out the application and studying a month in advance for the test that all the national officer candidates have to take, as well as just preparing for it and making sure that I was going to be the best candidate that I could possibly be. And this past summer, I was elected to serve as the president-elect of National HOSA. And so this has been an incredible opportunity, especially over the past year, where I've just been able to grow as a person and as a leader. And this summer, I'm really excited to become president of this organization that has over 200,000 members internationally. And had somebody gone back in time to my middle school self and told me, hey, you're going to be the president of a national organization in just about 5 years' time, I probably would have laughed at them. So CTE and HOSA have definitely been huge powers and huge forces in my life, and I'm so grateful for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thanks for proving the effectiveness of the career and technical education delivery model. Our second speaker with us today is, as introduced previously, Janneth Fuerte. Janneth is a graduate of the AVID program, about which we heard a good deal this morning, a very, very successful program. After graduating from high school, Janneth went on to UC Riverside, where she obtained a degree in mechanical engineering. She is currently a project manager at Disney. Here to share her story is Janneth.
Hi, everyone, and I hope you're enjoying your meals. So yes, my name is Janneth Fuerte, and I am a first-generation college graduate. I come from an immigrant family. Believe it or not, I was born in Mexico and moved here when I was about 2 years old. My dad lived here, and he was a citizen, and through him, I became a citizen. My road to success started just with my family. They really encouraged me and wanted me to go to college, and to be honest, I didn't know what college was. In high school, as a sophomore, AVID, the AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination, college prep course. kind of opened those doors for me. They were amazing. They showed me what college was. They showed me how to apply for scholarships, how to apply for the FAFSA. They showed me what standardized tests to take, and this was brand new to me. I never in a million years imagined I was going to go to college. But they opened those doors for me. I had amazing teachers and amazing counselors. Scott Lockman, I went to Ramona High School, and he was my AVID teacher there. I should say, I live in Riverside, California, and that's where this high school is located. He was just an amazing teacher. He really cares about his students, and I felt that he really cared about me as well and my success, my future success. I also got the chance to really bond and talk to my counselors, one of which went to work for the school district, and the other, well, he was still a counselor at Ramona High School up until I graduated from college. They both really encouraged me, and that was one of the huge motivating factors for me to go to college. They really pushed me to get these applications done, to get the FAFSA done. I had applied for the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, and I almost forgot to literally submit the application form, and it came down to the very last day. One of my counselors, Mr. Perez, Jorge Perez, pushed me that day. He called me out of class, and he said, "I heard you were applying for this scholarship." He said, "I really want you to finish that application and submit it because I have a really good feeling that you're gonna get it." So I did. I submitted it. I didn't think much of it, so I just let it be. Come summertime after graduation, I receive an email, and it says, "Congratulations, you've won $12,000 for a renewable scholarship." And I was ecstatic. I was beyond ecstatic. And that made a huge, I guess you can say, that was a huge deal for me, because after college, after high school, I went on to go to UC Riverside, where I majored in mechanical engineering. That scholarship was a tremendous help because I didn't think I was going to be graduating in 5 years, but it took 5 years to graduate. Engineering is not easy, especially coming from a family where there is no professional. I literally was the first engineer in the family and still am. I was the first to graduate from high school and to get my career going. I was the first to graduate from college and start my career that way. I had no help, literally, except for AVID. I worked for AVID for 5 years during college, and I received a lot of help through them, through the AVID teachers. Because the material in engineering was really intense and really hard, the mathematics was just beyond. I really went to my AVID math teachers. So at this high school, a little bit of background before I go on. The teachers, the AVID teachers we have range from history teachers, math teachers, language arts teachers, and of course the AVID teachers that prepared the kids for college. So I would go back during my lunch break at work to these math and science teachers and ask for their help, and they would be so warm and so welcoming and just really cared about my being successful, that they did all they could to help me. Eventually, I kind of ran into a wall come like 4th or 5th year of college, because that's all they could do for me. The rest I had to learn on my own, and so I did. I was lucky enough to have connections in the Chicano student programs at UC Riverside. Mr. Perez, Jorge Perez, one of my counselors, he was married, or is married, I should say, to one of the ladies who hosted me while I was in college. She was in charge of the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, along with another lady by the name of Estella. This lady, though, her name is Elena, and she was just warm and welcoming, and she provided me all the resources that I needed to advance, to just graduate. granted, it was like I said, it was intense. I didn't graduate with the best GPA, but I tried, and I still got my degree, so that's all that matters. But yes, it's just my career to success. I never in a million years thought would end up, or take me, I should say, to the Walt Disney Company, and now I am a project manager there. Not necessarily in engineering, but still, technology, mobile games, it's been amazing, incredible.
Janneth, thank you. What a testimony to the power and effectiveness of AVID. And we have Dr. Vargas with us and his staff. Congratulations to you on the tremendous work that you do every day. We should also add that she'll soon be beginning her MBA at UCLA. Our next speaker talks to us about a different pathway to success. This is Brianna Koch. Brianna completed her GED through the Maricopa Center for Adolescent's Parents. She has gone on from there to Carrington College, where she is pursuing a career as a respiratory therapist. And now to share her story is Brianna.
Okay, so everything for me started when I was really young. I wanted to be a dancer, and I traveled, and I went to plenty of different places. And I mean, it was a great experience for me as a child. From there, I went to a charter school for high school. My mom put me in a charter school called ACAA, and that stands for Arizona Conservatory for Arts and Academics. My sophomore year, I actually got pregnant. I was 15 years old, and I started a program called TRC, which is just an online program inside of ACAA, and I just started doing online classes from home as I was pregnant because it was really hard being at school. I mean, I was there throughout the day, and I was just hungry and had to go to the restroom, and it was not a good thing for me. So I started the online classes. That actually happened to be really hard as well after I had the baby, keeping up with the baby and doing my online classes. So I reached out, and I actually found a program through Child and Family Resources called MCAP. MCAP stands for Maricopa Center for Adolescent Parents, and they basically had scholarships for us to get our GED. They provided classes for you to, do all the practice that you needed before they actually sent you out to go do your GED classes. They also provided a scholarship for me so my daughter could come to school with me. She was in the next room. She was about a year when I started going to MCAP, and she was just, like I said, right next door. It was the best feeling ever, knowing that she was being taken care of really well, and I was continuing on with my education. While I was at MCAP, they provided parenting skills classes as well as life skill classes for us. So when we would have people come in as speakers and talk to us about the different choices that we had after we finished our GED. I graduated from MCAP in 2012. It was an awesome graduation that they provided for us. Right when I was graduating, we actually had a speaker come in, and she was from Rio Salado. They were offering other scholarships that were called Adult ACE scholarships. That stands for Achieving a College Education. And what that was basically that you could continue on getting your GED while you started some college courses to get you started. So I actually finished my GED right in time, and I was able to just do Rio Salado, and so that was a year program, and they provided basic classes as well as classes that were also going to transfer over to college credit classes. So I finished that program at Rio Salado. Some obstacles that I went through were like finding a babysitter so that I could go to school at Rio. It was day classes, and they don't usually offer that. So it was a really good opportunity for me that I couldn't pass up. So I finished Rio Salado in October of 2014. And that's when I started at Carrington College. Right now I am in my second year for Carrington College, and I started in November of 2014. Ever since I started at Carrington College, I've been up and down. There's been good moments, bad moments, trying to find a babysitter. Through all this, I just happened to actually, go in a whole circle and end up back with MCAP and Child and Family Resources. They offered a scholarship for me for daycare. So I got a scholarship so that my daughter could go to daycare. And so right now she's in daycare. She's been with this daycare for 3 years now. Thank you to MCAP. They offered really good scholarships so that she could be somewhere I know she's going to be safe while I'm doing what I really wanted to do. Since I got pregnant so young, I couldn't go on with being a dancer like I always wanted to do, traveling as I was young. So I looked into MCAP offered, they told us stuff all the time like, think about what you want to do, but you should also research into what you want to do because it may not be what you really want to do. So I did. I wanted to be a nurse once I researched a little bit, and then I researched some more and I realized that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something else in the medical field. I think it was more of me, and I said I wanted to be a nurse because it was said very often, but once I researched into it, I knew it was more of something I wanted to specialize in. When I found respiratory, it was an awesome opportunity. It was an awesome program. My daughter actually has asthma. I grew up with my brother who also has chronic asthma. He was in the hospital twice a year for his asthma, so it's really amazing getting to learn all these things that are going on with them and basically what I can do to help people that have these same problems. So in this Carrington program, I've gotten a lot of experience out in the hospital, meeting new people, and just getting a little feel of the college life. I will be done in November, and I'm hoping that I can go and get into the Phoenix Hospital. I really do want to work with babies, but I know that it takes a little bit of time before you can actually get that far in. So I'm hoping that I can get a job at Thunderbird once I graduate, and from there I can hopefully move up and possibly get another degree. And that's where I am at right now.
Wow.
I don't know about the rest of you, but at this point I kind of need to massage my cheeks. They're sore from smiling so much. Thank you for your inspiring story. We're most appreciative, Brianna. Our final panelist speaking to us today is someone you may have seen before. If you're from the Maricopa County area, you may have seen her on a video previously. Our speaker is Maryah Gowan. Maryah is a student in the agricultural science program at Monument Valley on the Navajo Nation. She has a veritable cheering section that came with her today. Her agriculture teacher, Mr. Clyde McBride, who you heard Dr. Warner mention this morning, is in the audience. Clyde is a past National CTE Teacher of the Year. Also with him, with Maryah, is her mother. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Carolyn Begay. Glad to have you with her. And I think her brother Skylar is here as well. So we're glad to have the whole family with us. So Maryah, we're going to turn it over to you to share your story.
Okay. Yat she Maryah Gowan she is a planet in set excuse but she's ya idene that she the thought that she Shema A. Carolyn Begay will ya, Shije A. Billy Begay Jr. will ya, away A. Adriana Gowan she, and Cecilia A. Skylar Begay. Monument Valley High School A. Olhop. Todanesh J. A. Shahoan. I just said my name is Maryah Gowan. My first clan, my mother's clan, is the Minigoats people. My second clan, my father's clan, and who I'm born for, is the Rock Gap people. My third clan, my maternal grandfather's clan, is the giant people. My fourth clan, my paternal grandfather's clan, is the Yavapai Apache people. My mother is Carolyn Begay, my father is Billy Begay Jr., my daughter is Adriana Gowan, my little brother is Skylar Begay. I go to school at Miami Valley High School. I live in Kenta, Arizona. So my journey began in 7th grade. I think the Miami Valley Agriculture building was barely being built, and our CTE teacher in 8th grade gave us a tour and just watched, and they were doing a small animal clinic, giving animals vaccinations, doing hoof trimming in their big fancy machine. And at that time I didn't know what I wanted to be, and it gave me an interest into going into animal science. By 8th grade, I started getting more involved with the FFA. For my 8th grade summer, I worked with my cousin at their agriculture building. They did vet camp, and just being around all the animals, learning how to vaccinate, and learning these new traits, a passion just grew inside of me of working with animals. So by 8th grade, by the time I entered freshman year, I already had the nickname Tater by my FFA family. And I remember freshman year I entered and I got my class schedule, and I noticed the only thing I looked on that schedule was for my agriculture class and my honors math. I got my math, but I didn't get my ag class. So Miss McBride approached me and she said, "When am I gonna see you? I haven't seen you." And I said, "I didn't get ag, they didn't give me ag class." And she said, "Well, go over there, just go in there and tell them you want that class." So I went 3 times, got rejected every time. And one day I sat in Mr. McBride's office. I told him I don't have ag, and the next day I got called to the counselor's office, and he pulled some strings and got me into the class. So I remember before I got ag class, I went to the agriculture building, just stayed after school. And they were having a mandatory meeting to go to the 2012 National FFA Convention in Kentucky, or Indianapolis. And so it was just a huge coincidence. And I was able to go. I had to pay my whole way. So I used the money I made from the summer. And then I went to the Indianapolis, and we rode by plane. It was my first time. So that was a big impact. And by the second semester of my freshman year, I competed in the horse career development event. I beat a senior, so I was proud. By the end of freshman year, I was pregnant, and I worked that summer with Miss McBride again because I knew I needed money. My father was working in Wyoming, and my mother was planning to move up there. So I decided to go with my mother, leaving my grandmother for the first time. I've always lived with my grandmother. And for the first semester of my sophomore year, I went to Wyoming. I told my parents that I got pregnant, and we decided in January I would move back to Miami Valley High School to have my child stay in the daycare center provided by the high school, and I would be able to continue pursuing my passion in veterinary science. Leaving Wyoming, I left with a 4.0 GPA, and I was at the top of my game. I came back. The school decided that they didn't want a teenager with a baby. So my mother had to fight for my way back into school. And then once getting back in, I decided to join more clubs. I went to National Honor Society meetings. I went to American Indian Science Engineering Society, and there was already a club in the daycare center called Family Career Committee Leaders of America. And by junior year, I was a Sentinel officer of FFA. I was a secretary of the Family Career Community Leaders of America. And then junior year, the national conference came around again, and I decided to go, leaving my daughter for 2 weeks. And that was, the last couple of days were hard because I really missed her. But we did college tours. And during the second spring, I competed in FFA veterinarian science, placing second in both individual and team, and then placing second in native skills also, both individual and team. I worked vet camp again, and then senior year came, I became officer of media connections. There wasn't much to do since Mr. McBride went into the hospital for the first 6 months, so I became more involved with other teams like National Honor Society, more other clubs like National Honor Society. During the spring, Mr. McBride came back. I became more involved with FFA since they're starting things again. And I placed first in FFA veterinarian science for team and individual. And then, as they mentioned earlier, I was hosted in a video, and I made it to the second round of gates, but didn't make it to the finalists. I am a nominee for FFA state degree.
Thank you so much, Maryah. If you think for a moment about the programs of study that you have just witnessed, you have witnessed career and technical education programs at the secondary level. You have witnessed the importance of core subjects. You have witnessed the value that AVID can play. You have also witnessed the value that other organizations can play, such as INCAP. Then beyond that, we've seen the importance of community colleges, a real community college in particular. We've seen the value of universities. We've seen the values of work-based learning, such as the internship experiences that some of our panelists have experienced. As Bill would say again, there's clearly more than one route to heaven. We have just about 4 minutes left. So ladies, I'm going to give you one question, and you have just 1 minute or less to answer it. And your question is going to be, if you were going to give advice to a high school freshman about finding their pathway, how would you advise them? And Elizabeth, we'll start off with you again and go in the same order. Take it away.
So advice that I would have for a high school freshman when they're trying to find their path would just be to not be afraid of failure, and to not be afraid that if you make a choice, that's the choice that you have to stick with. Because there's a lot of room for change throughout high school and even throughout college that you really kind of don't realize until you're actually in the moment. So just not to be afraid would kind of be the advice that I would give to a high school freshman.
Thank you so much. Janneth?
My advice to add on to hers would be, if you really want something, then just go for it. Think long term. Think that things change. Think that you have goals and you want to achieve them. Just go for it. If you really, really want it and are passionate about something, just go and reach your goals. You'll be amazed at to where you will land.
Thank you. Brianna?
My advice to add on to both of theirs would be not to let anybody hold you back. Sometimes you feel like you hit obstacles in life that are not you're not gonna be successful, or people are telling you you're not gonna be successful because of maybe mistakes that you've made. Just don't let those people bring you down, because you have every opportunity to prove them all wrong and do exactly what you want to do with your life.
Maryah.
Okay, one advice. All freshmen enter high school shy. I've always been told this, and I know it. Don't be afraid to jump out of the comfort zone, to burst your bubble, to meet new people, to see new faces, go new places, travel across the state. Don't be afraid to chase your passion, no matter what holds you back. That's just your strength being challenged. Show them how strong you can really be.
Thank you so much. And my advice is this. The night before I began as a teacher, an agriculture teacher in Vancouver, Washington, many years ago, my father called me. He had been a teacher himself for 40 years. He called me and I said, "Do you have any advice for me the next day?" He offered two things. The first was this. He said, "Never forget that wisdom is not the sole province of the aged, that young people can be wise too. And never forget too, never ever forget that your best teachers, your most inspiring teachers, will be the students you teach, young men and women like the people today." Thank you for joining us.